Hi and welcome, or thank you for stopping by. That's So Nova. Today we're going to be doing a sew along for the curved handbag by Sewn Ideas. I was actually given this pattern. I wasn't given this pattern. I purchased this pattern, but somebody gave me the idea to do a sew along for this pattern, and their name is Dalva. And I was really intrigued with this bag because it's very simplistic, but yet then there is something very like classy and I don't know, unique about this bag. So when I first initially got the pattern, I seen it's really, really well constructed. I love the fact that right from the beginning, there's check boxes for you to check as you progress into the pattern, as well as there is some like tips and tricks on how to use faux leather or cork, what kind of foot to use. There is a material list. You can use cotton. For some odd reason, for this one, we're going to use cork because the pattern itself shows a cork, or now that I look at it, possibly uncork, which is fabric that looks like cork. And I wanted to try it, so I'm going to give you some tips and tricks if you want to try it with all vinyl or all cork, what you can do with your machine to do it. Today I'm going to be sewing on my Juki DDL 5550, and I will list everything that I'm using in the description, not the comment section. So you can definitely follow along. There is also going to be a discount code for 25% off for the next 2 weeks of this pattern using discount code SEWNOVA. So SEWNOVA. And I will also have that in the description box as well. So let's get started. So in the beginning of the pattern, it may feel like there's a lot of cutting out instructions, and it may seem like it's overwhelming, but it's not. The designer gives really clear-cut instructions, as well as giving you optional things you could add or take away from the bag. It's up to you, as well as cutting measurements. And this bag really is 3 pieces for the outside and 3 pieces for the inside. What most of the stuff you're cutting out is going to be your interfacing. Now, mine is all super messy because it's been tacked down. You're going to have your Peltex 71. You're going to have your Fusible Fleece, and you're going to have Pellon 911 FF. This is the first time I ever used 911 FF. I usually use Shape Flex 101, or now my favorite for the past 4 or 5 months has been Monica's, and hers is So Fuse. But I went ahead and used what the designer, asked for. It does say you can use Shape Flex 101, and I just went for the 911 FF because it's relatively inexpensive. At Joann's, you could get it up to I think it's like $2 a yard with the coupon. So I was like, why not? Let me try it. With that being said, I have another bag I'll probably show you at the end of the video. I did finish the all vinyl bag. For the vinyl, it worked really well. For the cork, I couldn't add on heat. So I'm going to put the camera over here. You're going to see that I glue based my I glue based my Peltex and my Fusible Fleece, let it sit with the book, and then I took the the 911 FF, and I basted it at 1/8 of an inch. You're also going to see red lines and center marks here. When it comes down to top stitching, I love to have a line to follow, so I just have a heat erasable pin going around it. So we're going to be using cork, and I got this cork from Emmaline, and Sherry has magnificent cork. So we're going to start off. You're going to fuse all of your pieces, and I highly recommend what the designer says about using 911 FF or Shape Flex 101 or sew fuse because it will help prevent wrinkling. There's very specific measurements on how to place things like 3/8 of an inch down, 1/4 of an inch down. You need to follow those directions. I will not be showing you the pattern pieces or where to place it because I feel like this is the very important part of the pattern. I don't want to give out any information that's not needed. So we're going to start with the optional purse feet on the bottom of your bag. I marked the holes where I'm going to be putting the purse feet. Lo and behold, this cork is gold. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to use gold. I have no gold purse feet. So I'm going to show you what I do in lieu when I don't have purse feet. I have a rivet press from Mikas and Margot, and I will list that in the description box. And they have different feet, not feet, rivets. So whenever I have a situation where I don't have purse feet, I always have these circular rivets, and they look really charming as purse feet. I'm going to grab my rivet press, remove my normal die, and place this one here. I'm going to grab my hole puncher. You can use, I usually have one that I bang, but it is 9 o'clock at I'm so sorry. It's 9 o'clock at night, and I don't want to sit there and bang and cause a disruption with with my neighbors because a little kid could be asleep. If you hear my dog in the background, she's busy scratching and doing her puppy thing. Let's see. I apologize for any extra sounds. My cameras are not being, they're not being loyal right now. All right, so I punched out my holes, all 4, and I'm going to get 4 of these rivets. These little baggies are like, they're like my kryptonite sometimes. Like, I have the hardest time getting them out. These are really small rivets, and we're going through the Peltex. You can add a small square of Peltex if you wanted to use a little bit more, but for the fact that this is not going to be extremely weight bearing, and I'm also going to add an additional bottom, you'll see towards the end, it will work out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my rivets through the holes. This is one of my favorite dies. I love like the regular rivets, but I don't know, there's something about the circular one that just intrigues me. So I'm going to go ahead and set. You don't have to press all your body weight. You kind of can feel when they all set. Okay, so I'm going to move my, we're going to come back to the rivet press. I'm going to move it away for just a little bit, but we add the purse feet to the right side. So it's all ready to go. We're on page 9. This designer, one of the things I have to say is that when they made each piece of the pattern a different color so that way you're able to follow it, I felt like that was really genius because there's a lot of people that are visual learners, and to see like this blue piece is the back and this red piece is the front and this white is the tab, like it can help out somebody tremendously. So I appreciate that. The next thing we're going to do is take this piece, put it aside, and we're going to work on the handles. The handles are really interesting because it's an unusual shape, but we're going to start putting it together. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work for one side first. I'm going to remove the tape, the double-sided tape, on one side first. It's just easier. I'm one of those people that get the double-sided tape stuck to me, and it's not fun. All right, so I'm going to put this in the middle and press this down. You're going to leave like 1/8 of an inch in the middle so that way it can fold upon itself without having a buckle. You could, I drew a line in the center, but it's really faint, and I don't think it'll be on camera, but I'm following the line through the middle. And then I'm going to take a few clips. And just before I press these down, I'm just putting a few clips so that way it can be positioned. And then I'm going to press these little tabs together. And while you have the clips, just like move around it to make sure it feels like it's even. I'm using like double-sided tape, but it's like you can reposition it. It's from Tandy, and I actually really like it on cork, not so much on faux leather, but real leather, fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to do 1/8 of an inch all the way around. I'm going to start in a corner, and I'm going to be 3.5. I'm going to be on a setting of 3.5. I am using a 110 needle, so it's like a size 16. It's a denim needle, essentially. And I'm going to go back one stitch, and when you stop, make sure your needle's in the needle down position. And I'm just going 1/8 of an inch, taking your time, breathing through your top stitching. If you wanted to, you could get a Tandy leather pin or any like leather pin and draw your line if that's easier. Sometimes I do that and I just wipe the little ink away when I'm done. There's a lot of pivoting on this. And everything that doesn't like line up, I could trim. And I'm just following the inner inside of my foot. Later, I'm going to be switching a foot because I found out that I have like this 1/4 of an inch. It's like a 1/4 of an inch foot. And the pattern's measurements are seam allowance is 1/4 of an inch. I'm like, if I would have used this earlier today, I wouldn't have to draw 1/4 of an inch all over my pattern. But it's just something I do because all patterns like vary. There's some designers that like 3/8 of an inch, some that like a 1/2 an inch. I had a pattern the other day that was 5/8 of an inch, and usually that's done in garment sewing. But I understood why because it engulfed all layers, and it was pretty cool. I'm just going to back stitch a couple, and I'm going to trim my threads. And then I'm just going to go through and trim any extra tape or any extra fuzzies, because sometimes that happens. Then I'm going to take my hardware for this. And I'm going to put it on and slide the ring on. This is a 3/4 of an inch. And we are going to put holes, punch holes into, I'm just trimming up any part that I see that's like a little bit of overage. We're going to punch holes right on the back of this. So we're going to punch holes, there's certain measurements that we're going to follow. I'm just trying to line this up and use my ruler. And this is a relatively inexpensive ruler. It's just it's something I got off of Amazon. It's a Westcott ruler. Each tiny little square represents 1/8 of an inch, and it's just slowly became my favorite ruler. And grab my other one and trim off any excess. The measurements are on page 10 in section number 7. And then I'm going to grab my hole puncher. I don't know what brand this is. It doesn't have a name. I go through these a lot. I haven't found like the perfect one. I usually like to use hole punches that you have to use a mallet with. I feel like they punch better. I never had good luck with these. And somehow, some way, this old part always like comes out weird and it doesn't work out. I'm going to actually use the same rivets as I did on the bag, the purse bottom, because I think it'll be kind of cute to have that different look. I love the way rivets look, and I especially like different shapes like the conicals or the spikes. It gives it a whole different feel. And you can make your purse look, or handbag, or backpack, or whatever you're making, look really different with. See how it looks pretty cool. Trying new things. I got these rose gold spikes that Mika's carried, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put you on a bag. I just don't know which one yet. So I'm going to push them all in place, and then I'm going to set them. Put my hole punch aside for now. Make sure that you look on the other side that the rivets are going in the same place, because I would easily do it the opposite. One second. It would help if my hole puncher would punch through to the other side. If you guys have a favorite hole puncher, please comment below and let me know where you got it at, because I promise you the struggle is real with these. I've tried everyone underneath the sun, but what I never have a problem with is this. Mika Samargo. They have really great customer service. When the pandemic first hit, there was I needed some Snap 24 lines, and their shop was on vacation on Etsy. So I emailed them and I'm like, oh, by any chance, are you still selling? And they're like, yes. They did a PayPal invoice, everything, and sent them out. And weirdly enough, when we were going through that whole, the mail's not coming, it's not doing it, I received it relatively fast. So we're done with the handle part. We're going to set that aside. I'm going to get these rivets and set them aside. And then we're going to go for the straps. If you're doing cotton, you'll see that you're taking 4 inches by 3. You're going to fold in and then fold again, so that way it's not that bulky. If you're like me and you're like, hey, I want, like, if you do this and then you do this, now you're going through 4 layers. If you're like me and you're like, I want to do this, you don't care about the bulk, I'm going to show you a really cool trick. I already set one of these. What I did, I apologize. What I like to do is I like to take cross grain ribbon and use this as kind of like a stabilizer. And I apologize for any noise. It's still a new company, still new on Facebook, and I'm constantly learning. You can put double-sided tape on this if you wish, or you can not. This cross grain will help give structure and stability to this strap without having the bulk. So when we go to top stitch, we're not going over 8 layers of cork. We're just going over 4. So we're going to move the scissors, move my ruler, and we're going to top stitch at 1/8 of an inch, still at the same settings, 3.5. You can actually go 4. I just usually just bite the bullet and kind of just stay at one setting until I have to do my final top stitch. Okay, and it's this cross grain trick I do with a lot of my bags. Another thing you could do is you could do like a 1-inch strap of Decoville Light. You keep those scraps and you can put it inside, and it will make it stronger as well. So I'm going to get my other piece of hardware. This is a 1-inch gold hardware that I got from Emmaline bags. That's usually my to-go-to hardware. Because the thing with hardware is, it's really funny. I did not know this while I was first starting out. Each company has their own version of gold. I will do a video on hardware if there's people that are requesting, because I have hardware from so many different companies, and this is gold, but it's not the same color as gold as this, and I'm really odd when it comes down to having everything hardware related to match. So we're going to take our 2 connecting straps and put them on the side, and we're going to work on the optional adjustable straps. So with this, the designer shows you how you can make this a continuous it shows you how you can make this a continuous strap on page 12, and I'm going to briefly show you right now. I'm going to the box we're going to make a 1-inch strap, so it's going to be 4 inches wide, and I'm going to stitch down diagonally from the top of it to the bottom and make sure I have back stitches. This is super important, or it's just going to fray. Let me move this little foot out of the way. Sometimes I'll hit the back stitch even in the middle of the stitch, because basically we're taking two pieces and making them in one, and we wanted to make it as strong as possible. So this one stitch right here, when we fold it back, it becomes one piece. So we could take this and we can cut it down to 1/4 of an inch, or what I like to do is I like to take 1/4 of an inch tape, which is mine's has been in my cart and it looks horrible. I know, no judgment. And what I do is I stick the 1/4 of inch tape right near the line. And I do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so move this out of the way. I get my little rolling thing. Just make sure the tape sticks before I pill. And what I do is I kind of just cut, like let the tape be my guide and cut like 1/8 of an inch away from it. And I will save these. These can be used for other things. I use cork scraps all the time, whether it's reinforcing rivets in the back or no scrap is left behind. I'm going to take this part and just fold it over. And just roll that real quick. If you're working with faux leathers or cork or wax canvas, your roller is the best thing you can have because it's equivalent to you pressing it. I have a metal one. You've probably seen. Wow, see how now these two sides, it's one piece. From here, I don't have my bigger tape here. From here, I'm going to take. You could do this. You could do a couple things. You can have one big in the center and have it meet. You can run another one, like 1/4 of an inch or 1/8 of an inch, depending on what you have. Right now, all I have is 1/4 of an inch and 1/8. My favorite tape is actually the 3/8 and the 1/2 inch, and then the 1 inch. The 1 inch is like my bread and butter when I make straps, because I feel like the straps are extra secure, and if I want to walk away, it won't go like wonky. So I'm just working with my table. Normally I would get up and go to my cutting mat and do this, but for sake of tutorials, we're just going to go ahead and do this like this, right over here. Yeah. And then you can have your strap, if you're on the shorter side, 54 inch, or if you're making it for someone that's just smaller, you just can gauge. One thing about adjustable straps that I like is that if you're doing this for, like, let's say you're sewing, do the standard 44, 55 to 60. If you're like me, you're like a fluffy person, I don't want my bag to be right at my waist. I want it to hit me on the hip. And I'm tall, I'm 5'9", so I'm going to go for like 60. And I also like to have like 2 rivets where some of the connectors are, just for that extra security. Because for some odd reason, when things get in my bag, they're ridiculously big. So yeah, and this is optional. You don't have to. And what I like about this bag, I feel like it's a perfect, like I'm going on vacation, date night, could be so many different things. Alright, so let's start with this one fold, and I'm just going around, just like pressing it in. This tape I got from Waywack. But you know what? It would have helped if I would have turned my light. So it's 4 inches. You just draw your line at 2. Or not 2, like you're me. Probably not 2. Just drawing my line. I wish I try to draw my line every time I do it, but sometimes I just like eyeball it, and I always get upset because like if it's messed up, then it's on me because I could have just took the time to draw out the line. And you'll see throughout all my bags, I draw out lines on top stitching. I'm drawing out lines inside bags. So when I'm doing closures of the bags, I'm just using a regular chalk pencil because the back of this cork is black and it's kind of difficult to see. And it's from sew line. You're going to leave 1/8 of an inch kind of away from the line so that way that the folds go together. What you'll see in my channel, I use everyone's like, what's your favorite sewing tool? Mine's is double-sided tape. I have double-sided tape for like when I'm making clothes, when I just feel like it's the best thing since pens. Like it's amazing to me. And I tried double-sided tape from everywhere. Waywack, Amazon, I think I always say it wrong. Fireweed or Fire Stitch. I use theirs. Sellrights. There's so many places to get it. You kind of have to fill out. And like thread, like hardware, there are some times where you just get bad batches. And you just have to deal. Now, I have also used, it's that time of year where kids are going back to school. I like to take my kids' glue sticks because it holds. It's invisible, it's washable, it's purple when you see it, and then it just like it's slowly not purple anymore. 4 zippers. I've used for straps as well. I'm just folding. If you wanted to, that where you made the 2 places join, you could top stitch. I do it sometimes if I feel like I just want, it's like a bigger bag, but this bag is not very big, so it's not going to be holding a bowling ball or what have you in it, so I feel secure with it. Okay. So then from here, I just fold over on itself, and I clip away. One second, let's see. You just clip. I have a lot of clips. I have hair clips. I have alligator clips. I have clips from Warmy Nose. I just get the Warmy Nose. They work really good, and I just like them because they're rainbow. Anything rainbow. I'm gonna probably shorten this because I feel like this is longer than 60 inches, but I just keep rolling with it. Now, again, I will do this without the clips all day long. You can run a piece of double-sided tape and measure and have it up too. But I notice no matter how many times I do this, I need the clips because I will somehow, it will shift or something. Yes, and I'm using, my clip jar is a gelato for vanilla caramel swirl. I like to repurpose everything. It would be a mason jar, but I'm notorious for having accidents. I don't know. I break things easily. All right. I am going to double check this because I want it to be like 62 inches. Oh, it's like 4 inches off. Okay, I'll just keep it. Let's go. All right. So I'm gonna do a few back stitches and then I'm gonna go. Just 1/8 of an inch. If any of you guys watch me from Swoon, look, I'm doing my strap first. I have this thing where I don't do strap first. I always like to do it the last thing because I feel like, I don't know. I have a lot of bags that don't have complete straps too. I know I should do it first because it's usually in most patterns the first thing you do because you have your bobbins full, and I just hit myself in the face with a whole bunch of cork. Why I like cork a little bit more than faux leather is, one, it's a natural resource. Two, for some odd reason, you can sew cork through any machine and it just sews like butter. My only negative with cork is I don't use heat on it because cork is natural and it just like a leather, it can crack, split, whatever. So I don't want to put it under like a lot of heat. See, well, the vinyls I could put it underneath a full small amount of heat and it won't really mess with the vinyl. But I'm weird about it with cork. We're just almost done. And just back stitch this all. All right, so we are on page 12 still, and I'm gonna get out my hardware for this strap. I'm gonna need two 1-inch lobster swivel clots, and a slider. I was looking for a wide mouth one. I really like that, but I don't think I have one. So we're gonna take this. You could what side this is on, if it's welted or there's like a split. It really depends on how you want it to look like. And we're going to stitch this down. It says bringing the straps in. The strap ends about 2 inches, and that's what I'm going to do. And take your time with this because you really want your box. You really want to take the box we're going to make an X to be like secure. And when you move, just make sure that your needle is down. Back stitch in areas that you feel it's going to be having more stress, like the top, the corners. And we're going to start our box. The X. And you don't have to do this. You can do rivets too, because that's what I normally do. Is I put a few rivets in it just for that security. Okay. Then we're going to put one of these lobster clasps or swivel clasps. I keep calling them lobster clasps. Sorry, I'm just knocking down everything. I'm going to put one of these lobster clasps on, and we're going to thread it through here. Tight with it. And we're going to, I'm going to move this up a little bit. So we have one swivel clasp right here. We're going to take the other one and about 2 inches. You could put end caps on this, it makes it look really nice. And we're going to top stitch and make a box right here, and we're going to be done with our adjustable strap. And these are a lot of layers. You have to think you're going through like 4 layers of work, a little bit more. Plus double-sided tape. Always keep that in mind. Some machines love it, and it could be just the brand it doesn't like. Other machines despise it. Like my Bernina doesn't have a problem with it. My brother, I'll have like a million stitches, and it's not a fan of it. Gummed up needle, all that great fun stuff that we don't like as sewists. And trim off threads. And like I said, you can, I just have a ton of thread. You can put a couple rivets in it and not have to sew this. And that'll be time saving, and it could be secure. So now we have our adjustable strap. So I'm going to put this on the side because, again, we're not going to need it until the end of the bag. We have our adjustable strap, and now the next thing we're going to work on is the tongue block. First thing we're going to do is we're going to sew 1/8 of an inch all the way around it. This could be tricky because there isn't a major curve. I tell people to try it like if you ever made pizza or you roll dough out for like cookies or whatever. It's similar to that. You can take it one stitch at a time and position it, or you can just go naturally with the machine and just let it follow the curve. Alright, so you top stitch this at 1/8 of an inch. And I know it's hard to see. I've been using a lot lately contrasting threads. Like this really would have been pretty with the gold, but I had nothing that was actual gold. It was all like yellow. So there's measurements on here, and I drew them out on here. Like This is interesting. All right, so there's measurements on here, and the bag requires it's a prong lock. I've actually never seen a prong lock before until this video, and then I went to research it because I was like, all the ones I have the twist, the little twisty with the screws. I've never seen this, and I gotta tell you, I'm kind of a fan of this. It alleviates the screws, so you're not sitting there doing it in like tiny little screws falling around everywhere. And it's like it's really secure and it's simple. So you're gonna find your center. I usually fold, and I don't know if you can see. There's a white line that I put down there, and we have to go 3/8 of an inch up. So from there, I took the plate as my template, and I centered it because of the prongs to center the line, and I drew my circle with actually a pen because we're going to be cutting it out. I just went like this, and then we're going to cut this little piece out. With this, you need smaller scissors. It's pivotal. You can use bigger scissors, just as long as they're sharp. So I'm going to fold this and kind of just snip in it. I'm going to do it again and make sure that I cut both layers. And when I get my thing, I'm just going to follow. You can use a die if you have like 2 plate presses to go for it. If you don't have it, it's fine. The pattern designer shows you how to cut it out, and I'm cutting it out. So it doesn't have to be perfect, and it's better to cut where the hole, you can see it, so you could trim a little bit more, versus you're looking at it and it's just like right here, I need to trim more because you can see inside of the slot. So I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to go a little bit more. And again, I'm going to stick this in the prongs and see if I see anything. I see a little bit on this side, nothing on the other side. So I'm going to go in here and just take a little bit at a time. If you cut too big, you're going to have to wind up just cutting out this piece again. And it's not the end of the world. It's 2 pieces, but you know, in case if you're like me, you're like, I don't want to waste my fabric, then take your time, draw it out, and it'll be fine. So everything is good here. I'm going to just clean this up real quick over here. And we're going to install it, and you'll see how fast it is to install it. I do this with my screw ones too. I put like a little bit of glue because I want to make sure it stays okay. And I can do a whole video on glue. So I'm going to I'm using Beacon 809, and I'm just like beading a little glue on it. Oops. Sticking this through. And then I'm going to put a little bead of glue on this side. Put my cap on. Try not to get my fingers in the glue. And I'm going to take, you can take a Phillips screwdriver, a flathead, or whatever you have at your disposal. Like, I first just bend it. Was relatively easy to bend it in place. But I'm also a person that can take duct tape and just rip it off, apparently. That's not a normal thing. So, there's a little bit of glue. That's it. I'm really surprised at this because I've never seen this, and I think it's the coolest thing because normally, we'll be sitting here still screwing it on, and we're done. So now we're going to start constructing the bag. With that being said, I'm going to take this foot off, which is just like the regular foot that comes with the machine. If you have a Juki, like, straight stitch, it's the same feet. Like, if you have like the QT100, it's the same foot. But I got this really cool foot that it has like a spring, and it lines up right at 1/4 of an inch. And I decided, let's try it today. Why not? You know? Screw this in real quick. Or save real quick and take forever. You know. Let's see. Alright. We're going to do the pouch, the pocket, the slip pocket. As you can see, like I said, I drew my 1/4 of the inch seam allowance. It is interfaced. I'm going to leave an opening. It doesn't have to be a very big opening because it's not like a huge piece. So I'm going to, oh yeah, I like this. This goes exactly, the edges go exactly against that. That is, okay, I'm a fan and I haven't even really did it. I wonder, I need to get the 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to, so 1/4 of an inch the seam allowance. Stop, put my needle down. Back stitch, needle up, and then I'm going to threads and just back stitch again. Alright, so I'm going to take away these threads. Let's see. This has a lot of threads. I'm going to just see where the picking shears are. Okay. I'm going to they recommend you to snip the corners, which I'm going to do. And then I just like to go through picking shears because I think it gives it a cleaner finish. Maybe that's what I'm going for. Okay. The corners. Okay. Then I'm going to, what I like to do, if I didn't burn an iron, because this is like all cork, but normally I like to iron these pieces to like where it's supposed to go, because it gives it like a, when you turn it, you don't have to worry about trying to find those pieces, but this roller does the same thing, especially if it's, you know, canvas, waterproof canvas. I'm just using cotton. So. Get a cookie turning thing. Just try to get this out as much as possible. I'm just following the seam. And you would give this a good press, but because this is rolled in, it's already trying to fold up on each other, and you would just press it. Poke out this corner a little bit more. All right. So on here, when you place, we're going to place it 3/4 of an inch up on the back piece of the pattern, and then they have a pocket for 3.5, 1.5, and 1.5. I was just thinking for phone purposes, like if I don't think 3.5 would fit my phone, so what you can do, they have you measure it and you do the stitch lines there. I thought I poked out this corner. I apologize. I can't just like start top stitching things and this corner's not poked out. I measure 1.5 inches up, and I'm just going to use a heat pencil, or you can use like a water one that you can spray later, or air soluble, and that's 1.5. Just gonna line it up and do another 1.5. Okay. I'm going to top stitch this real quick and start removing some of these scissors off my table. I'm sorry, there's a camera that keeps malfunctioning. I apologize. I'm going to top stitch. Let's see. Cut off, cut off the trim the threads. I'm a person that's notoriously bad at trimming threads, and then I'll get like a weird nest. So you're going to take the back pocket piece of your lining. You're going to find your center. You can do this by creasing it, making a mark. I just crease it. And we're going to go 3/4 of an inch. I don't know what I did with this. I promise you it just is the one. I'm not a big fan of the 911 FF right now. It just didn't really adhere really well for me. So it could be me. Definitely can. You measure 3/4 of an inch up, and you're going to pin it in place. I'm trying to get this. You can pin it in place. You can use the so tight magnets and just make it stay even. I'm just going to pop a pin right here, and then I'm going to top stitch. I'm going to do it at 1/8 of an inch. Let's see. You can do like a little chicken foot, like a V, like on the thing, just to reinforce the area. And now I'm going to make these pencil pockets. Remove the pin. We have our pocket now. I think it might hold the phone. Let's see. I'm just going to take everything down with me. Yes, it can hold the phone. And I have a heavier case with a pop socket in the back too, so it can hold the phone. And we're going to now start assembling the back. So on the front side of your main panel piece, there's an optional tag thing. I'm recommending with a white X. My tags are circular. My name is Shanova, and but a lot of people call me Nova. Not most people call me Nova, and Nova is like a star. So my circle is like, it looks like the Death Star because I'm like really obsessed with Star Wars as well. Let's see, do I have a washer? Okay. So whenever I do my symbol, I do this very similar technique as this designer. because I like to put a piece of fabric that's an extra buffer. Now, mind you, you're going to be going through Peltex, Fleece, and what have you. It's going to stay. But it doesn't hurt to have that extra caution. So I'm going to show you what I do. I like to take a piece of double-sided tape, fold it, make sure I can get it right in the center of the X. I like the fact that this is not like the center of the bag. I do that a lot, but then I regret it. Let's see. I did have a cutting mat. 1 second. Oh, it was underneath the bathroom. Okay, so what I do is I take my prong. It depends on yours. You can. I was looking for a gold woven. I have like hand ones that you could put in. I was looking for something gold, but it didn't really match. This is more of a copper. You can like stitch it down. This person even has it where it's metal and it has 2 hole punches. You can put rivets or you can stitch it. It's however you do it. But I'm going to use mine and I'm going to mark it with a little silver pen. Okay. Then I'm going to grab my Nova blade and I'm going to just poke through all the layers. And you can put a little, I like glue. And I'm just going to bead a couple drops. Just so that way, that extra, I know it's secure. This one needs to be poked a little bit more. Okay. You have it in the back. You get your washer. And you bend it. You can use a flathead, Phillips head, or back into the scissors, or you could be like me and be like, hey, I'm a Hulk out. I can rip duct tape. I could put these prongs on. Duct tape method I actually learned from Mrs. H, Samantha. I used to, when I turned bags, would like tear up my hands with like tags or anything that had prongs. I would have cuts all over my hands, and duct tape has literally saved my hands. So now we're gonna go start putting this back together. We're gonna use a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. We're gonna grab the bottom piece that we made with the purse feet. That's on the floor. And we're going to put it together. As you can see, I have my 1/4 of an inch seam allowance on there too. Oh, we did not do the first step, going around the box. I can do that now though. There's a step where you stitch. I apologize. There's a step where you stitch around the Peltex. I can do it. Do it before you're supposed to do it before you put the feet on. I'm just going to do it now. Because it was really cool because when you put the bag together, I expect it to top stitch. And this row of stitching shows on the bottom of the bag. I apologize for that, but at least we caught it. Because sometimes you don't catch your mistakes initially, and you're like, okay, I'll do without it. But there's always a time where you can just like make it up. So you have a box, a clean box, all the way around. You can use a lighter just to burn off those edges, and I might do it in a moment for those extra strings. Yeah, I have a couple different lighters. So I clip. You can hold it down. I just prefer just clipping, and I'm an over clipper. Take your time. There's no race. You don't have to rush. And I'm going to take the back, and do the same. We're going to do the 1/4 of an inch. And I'm just stitching out 1/4 of an inch. I'm following my line, but this new foot is like directly where the line is, so I'm like really impressed with it. Cutting strings, so it looks like this when it's done. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go on the sides, put the little sides together, and do at 1/4 of an inch as well. Clip. We're gonna get prepared, because this bag we're gonna start squishing. As soon as we start doing assembling the bag together, there's gonna be moments that we're gonna have to squish, and it's gonna be fun. Your bag will recover. And when I'm using fabrics like this where I can't press the seam open, most of the times, I will use double-sided tape again and put it on the side so the sides stay open as if they were pressed. Yes, it's a lot of double-sided tape, but it makes, like, to me, it's a cleaner finish. So what I'll do is I'll grab my tape, put it against the stitch line. My puppy just walked in. She's not a puppy. She's going to be 6 in September, but all dogs are puppies to me. That's just, and there she goes. Hi, mamas. I can't pet you right now. I'm making a bag. You have to go to daddy. Go to daddy. No. Yeah, so we're going to you don't have to do this. This is not a step in the bag thing. I just find when I have things that even if I finger press it, I'm gonna have to adjust it. It just makes my life easier, and I feel like it gives it a little bit cleaner finish when you do this. Now, personal preference. You always hear that, but it's true because everyone has a different method for different things. There's no right or wrong way to sew. There's no right or wrong way to make a bag. Everybody has their ways, and learning different people's techniques can help improve your techniques. Just like I learned a lot in this bag that I've never seen before. So I appreciate this person making this pattern because now I've learned new techniques. Doing the same thing on this side and trying to remove threads from my tape. And you're just pressing the seams open. It's going to be a little sticky. I should have used 1/8 of an inch, but I did not put that in my cart today. So 1/4 of it is. You work what you got, right? Okay. And you can just roll it out on just to make sure it's sticking. I promise you it has a payoff, because when we were putting together the bag, you're just, it gives it less strong. It's an extra step you don't have to take, but I don't mind taking that. We're going to now stick our hand through the bag, and we're going to create the bottom. So I'm going to clip, and because the seams are already flat, it makes it a little bit easier. Just clipping. I like to clip one back side at a time, because I'm about to squish this out of my way so I can go 1/4 of an inch for the seam allowance. Have my tails to the back. Back stitch a few stitches. Threads. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I think the trickiest part to this bag is the top stitching, because it is a very unique shape. But I feel like the construction of this bag it can come together fairly easy, especially if you read all the instructions and ask questions. Like, that's a beautiful part of our sewing community, is we can ask questions and get help. If you're going to move, make sure that your needle's in the down position. Okay. Okay, so we're going to put this aside for right now, and we're going to do the same thing initially with the lining. The thing with the lining is that we're going to have to leave a 5 to 6. It's going to be an opening of 5.5. So, but it's going to be on the side that doesn't have the pocket. Couple clips, pins, whatever your preference is, and we're going to go 1/4 of an inch. On this first side, we're not leaving an opening. See. Okay, and then we're going to take it on this side that my interfacing feels like it doesn't want to stick to, but it's okay because it's about to sew. And I marked where the 5.5 inch. You can make it a little bit bigger if you need to, because we're going to be essentially turning Peltex and Fleece. And I'm just going to pull my threads over to the other side. And And I'm going to just sew where this I have marked on my place to leave an opening and back stitch. Okay. I have a million threads everywhere, but apparently I always do. Alright. We're going to do the same thing, put these together. This is the exciting part because we're almost done with this bag. One-fourth of an inch seam allowance. And that's what I get for not holding my toe. Thread it real quick. I'm using Wax Saba thread. My machine loves it. When I try to use a heavier weight on this machine, it does not budge. It's like, nope, Shinova, this is not happening. This is a 40 weight thread. It's polyester. They have a lot of different colors. It's my go-to thread. Alright. This opening is for you to turn out the bag. So you have my opening ready. The sides are, we're going to now essentially do what we did for the outside of the bag. We're going to open up the, you can use an iron here and open up the seams, but I'm just going to finger press it so the seams stay open. You can use double-sided tape or wash away tape here too, whatever is easier for you. Flip. I'm going to do the 1/4 of an inch and I'm just going to squish it and grab my toes. Because I didn't do that last time. My toes got sucked in the machine. Got sucked in. Make sure that area that you finger press or press doesn't get like rolled over. Back stitch in a few places. Let's see. All right. Have these threads. All right. So we sewed everything together. We have our hole to turn. We are now going to place. Before we place, we're going to find our tab. You're going to make sure the prong side is down, facing downwards. So right side of the prong, right side of your turn, right side to right. The inside, the nice smooth side will be facing the outside of the pocket. The prong side will be facing outwards. So find your centers from the marks that you made, clip it, and we're going to just base this in place. Then we're going to grab our tabs that we made and we're going to base them in place and the inside. Now this is where it gets tricky because there's like a huge slope. Pins are going to be your friend, and being patient and knowing that you're going to have to squish your bag. You're going to have to. It's kind of inevitable. Alright, you have one more. And this is why I use the double-sided tape so that the seams stay flat. When I'm doing this, I don't have to worry about them being bulky in one area and not the other. Let's see. And that back tie again, back stitching a few times. Alright. We're going to take the lining and we're going to drop it in. So this moon shape, all sides fit together. This is where it gets, where you're going to take your lining and just like press it so flat seams a flat seam so it's not bulky. I think I already lost the tab. Hold on, I was like, why is it not working? Yeah, because it's not sewed on. I'm gonna smush my bag. Or try to. That Peltex, man. That Pellon is, it's interesting. I thought the bag that I made before, I was like, it's gonna wrinkle because everyone says Pellon wrinkles. It did not wrinkle. It could be because of the 911F that I used. Maybe that's like a great. Maybe that's like a great pairing. It's on now. So lining goes in, and we're going to do right sides versus right side. So I'm going to turn this inside out. Put it on the corners. Put it on the corners. So the moon goes back of the moon shape goes in the back of the moon. So the right sides are touching. Fold your seam allowance here. This is where ironing or double-sided tape comes in really handy. Because it's 1/4 of an inch, it's not like a really big seam allowance, but it's there nonetheless. And we're going to start clipping. I like to clip where the seam allowances are first. And go from there. I'm actually going to, this part of the seam, the stitches I do back stitch, and I don't want that to show at the finished project, so I'm going to just do a few stitches 1/4 of an inch again, because that happens. Like seams will unravel if you don't do enough back stitching, and it's better to catch this now than like, oh, I'll just do it and it'll be fine, and then when you turn the bag you have like a hole and you're like upset because you're like, I don't want to return it. So now I have that set up. Open up the seams on this. And we're going to start like clipping a lot. I'm just putting, lining it up as best as I can, clipping as I go. There's a lot of sharp turns in this back. So needle down is going to be your lifesaver, and also smushing your bag. Will make a big difference. Right? Pointy parts to pointy parts on the front, because there's like, it comes up as a point. Then it's a big U shape. All right. So let's start. You can see I drew the 1/4 of an inch. You can go from the inside or you can go from out. I personally like to go from out. I like to start on a corner because I marked my seam allowances, and then I'll go from there. In the back stitch, I'm squishing my bag. The whole pivot thing. Sorry, I'm removing clips because I'm just trying to pivot around that area. And when I get to the area where it has to be straight, I'm going to move my bag, squish it. Oh, I know you're gonna have to squish it. It's not fun. And the designer said this is the most trickiest part. And they're not kidding. I was like, okay, well, we're almost done. I was like, wait, no, this is weird stitching. But it's not. It somehow weirdly works all together. So we're going to be squishing the bag and not removing the needle like I just did. It needs to be a needle down. Back stitch some. Let's see. When I get to the tab, I do a couple back stitches to secure that area. Oh. Keep your needle down. Do as I say, not as I do. And you're going to have to kind of squish it to get into that awkward corner. I promise you, the end result is worth it. You're just squishing your bag. Let's see. that rectangle. Second. I have some thread. I have thread tangle. That's my needle down support in Shinova. That is the sound that my machine is saying, hey, I don't like that. Okay. Let's see. We cut all the lining except for this area. And I, like, again, when you have mistakes, try to fix them before you have the bag, or it's like you feel like you didn't do the bag right. And I know that feeling all too well, and I hate it. It'd probably be easier to do it from the inside, and I made it more difficult by doing it from the outside. All right. So I think I cut everything, and in the pattern it tells you to like clip the corners, the edges, so that way it's not, you can poke them out. Okay, and then what I did last time is I just like kind of pinked around this U, so it could be really defined and crisp. Don't go through your stitching. It's a really awkward shape, but it comes out like, it's kind of brilliant how the interface is put together, because it's nothing like I've ever seen before. I'm just getting into these corners and like pinking, so when I like poke everything out, it's nice and crisp. And also during this time I can see, make sure that I have everything caught in my seam allowance. Because I hate like when you turn a bag and you realize that something didn't get caught and you have to unberth, and you're just like, oh. All right. Grab all this trash. Threads. And then we're gonna start birthing it. I'm gonna put these corners over here so that the bottom's a little bit more defined. All right. What I do is I kind of unroll the lining, and then I just start slowly taking the bag with me. Okay, and this might sound super odd, but I guess because when I'm squishing the bag becomes a little bit more pliable. If it's really hard for you, you can add a little steam, hit it with the iron, just like steam it, and you have to like quickly pull it out. And you'll be surprised how fast you can do it, because steam makes the bag a little bit more pliable. I wish there was like a contest where we can like, every sewist can go, who can flip out the bag the fastest? Because we all have to go through this, and sometimes it's super easy. Sometimes you're like, what did I do? This took longer than sewing. And we're just poking out the corners. And then we're going to start poking out the corners on the top now. A blunt tool or a bony finger, whatever you have, as long as it's not sharp, you can start literally just poking out the corners. I like the chopsticks. I feel like it gets into the corner a little bit better. I'm just taking my time. I know it seems tedious, but this part is like crucial to me because when I top stitch, I want to make sure the lining's back and everything's poked out right. So I start like rolling and then rolling so the lining goes inside and you don't see it on the outside. Rolling through between your fingers and clipping with some whatever clips you have on hand. Tugging down the lining. And then I can feel like this area needs to be poked out more, so I will do that gently so you're not like popping stitches. This area needs to be poked out a little bit more too. And I'm just clipping. You can go inside and hit it with the iron inside the lining too if you wish. I'm just clipping, poking and clipping. I feel like this is the most tedious and long part because it can make and break your bag. Like, do you see the lining poking out? I mean, it doesn't matter if it is, but if you don't want it to, this is a part that you have to really just focus on. And my tool, I'm just running along the seam to make sure that it's evenly distributed and it looks good when I pull the lining back. All right. So this top stitching is not going to be easy. I'm going to let you know right now. It is a very unusual shape. You have to hit it with, you have to go across. This is what I did last time is I went across, did back stitch my stitches, and then I did separate where this U is. And then I went up and down and broke off the stitches too. It just 4 different places for me. You can try to go all the way across. I tried it and was not very successful the first time, but you never know. So I'm just kind of like opening it up on my table. And I don't want to see any of the yellow lining. So if I see something I don't like, again, this is the time where you're going to use your tools and poke things out. and readjust. So now I'm going to make sure the lining is all the way down in there, and then I'm going to turn this bag where it's facing upwards. You can flip the bag inside out and sew from the inside. I've done that a million times, but I get frustrated sometimes when that happens because then you have to, it's like unbirthing and rebirthing, but I do feel like you get a better top stitch. So what you do for that is you can, when you don't have a million clips on it, you just turn the bag inside out where the lining is going to be the outside. And if you're working with faux leather on a domestic, this might be a better trick for you if you have any ripping or like the feed dogs are trying to tear it apart because it's caught it on the side. So I'm going to go from one side. I'm going to go start from this side and go from there. For top stitching, I'm going to go 4. And just be prepared, you're going to be smishing your bag. That's, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. You're going to smush your bag. The pro about flipping your bag inside out too is that you can pull the lining really tight like taut so that you can make sure that it's not visible when you're top stitching. And just breathe and take your time. I gotta clean that up. I'm just readjusting my bag while the needle's down and getting into that U area. And remember, it's going to be a little bit bulky because you're going over the seam from your back tab. So you're going essentially over 8 to 12 layers depending on how you interface. And again, just remember to breathe. I feel like that when we're top stitching, we're like, okay, we're almost done. Just getting into that weird U thing. Push it down the bag. Okay. I have to just clean up the threads that got caught in the process. Bag. sure you don't cut your fabric. I've done that so many times where I'm like sitting there sipping out threads and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I cut my fabric. So we're going to turn this back. So yes, this is the Pellon 71 and I have no wrinkles. So I'm really excited about that. Alright, so we like top stitched and the bag's almost complete. There's a method, there's some top stitching, there's areas where how the Peltex is, you would iron, but if you don't have, you use vinyl, you're going to have to like finger press. You can kind of see how the bag wants to bow there because that's how the Peltex was cut. We're going to now do the washer, and then I'm going to show you my false bottom. There's several different ways you can do it. This pattern is so good for people that are like, hey, my bottom is like kind of wobbly. It's not, I don't feel like it's sufficient. She gives different directions. Like you can use cardboard. You can use, what is that thing called? Plexiglass. You can use foam school board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be using the foam school board because it's something I do regularly, like all the time. So for this, we're going to stick the male part in, and we're going to fold how the bag is supposed to fold. It folds on itself pretty cool because that's how it's built. And we're going to mark where we need to put our, to close this. So they use an actual pin to mark it. I'm going to use a marking tool, the leather one. This pin design is actually from Lauren Mormino, and I have them like on every sewing station. You can refill them with the tandy leather, and it works out like brilliantly. Okay. I'm just going to do it again one more time. Fold this over. So I want it to be perfect, and we're going to move the lining out of the way. Take your tool. This part you need to be really careful at because you can use a seam ripper, you can use a pair of scissors, but just make sure your fingers don't get caught in it because trust me, that sucks. And if you have to like mark something twice, don't. It's okay. It's perfectly okay. Alright. I think I got the markings where I want them to be. And I'm going to poke a hole. Poke a hole. And remember, you're going through Peltex, Fleece, and Shape Flex 101. Just a small hole. It doesn't. I'm not putting the whole knife in there. Don't do what I do. Okay. Then we're gonna take our melt piece that we already have, and you're going to take it away from this thing. And again, I'm big on glue, so I'm going to take a little of this beacon, and I'm going to put them kind of where the holes are. Especially if you're doing cotton, you're gonna want to put a seam thing. That like it's a sewer theme, so that way it doesn't fray. And then I'm gonna stick the male part inside, and then you see it's not going through my lining. It's only in that particular part. I'm gonna get my washer. I'm going to put the prongs down, and I'm definitely going to put duct tape on this because these prongs are really, really sharp. And in case it rubs against it, you just you don't want your fabric to like get rubbed against the metal and get worn out. So duct tape. I can't rip the actual duct tape that's silver, but anytime it has a print, I can rip it. So maybe that says something for it. So putting the duct tape right there. And I'm going to, this is the cutest little bag. So we're going to now do one of the final steps, and it's on page 21. It's like, congratulations, you made it. So you can use plexiglass, which you would have to like use an X-Acto knife and scrape it. I'm not scraping, cut it out. You can use cardboard. They actually use cardboard in a slip pocket. What I'm going to do, because this is still open, is we need to measure how big the base is. So I'm going to do 2 3/4. Just double checking. This is where the fun of measurements will come in. 2 3/4. And this is a foam board where your kids get it from, you know, school projects. And I'm gonna grab a marking tool. And put a line, and then I'm gonna see how long I can make it. The reason why I like this foam board is that I'm gonna put it in right at the bottom, and it won't damage or rub the edges. It's foam. It's relatively cheap. The only thing I don't like about it, honestly, is storing it. Storing it is the worst. Okay, I'm gonna let you know right now, it is not fun. So I'm just going to draw this out. And then I use scissors that are old. You can use an X-Acto knife and cut it out. I just use scissors that are really old that I use for paper or when I'm cutting cardboard. And this stuff is really thick, so, but it won't like gnaw at your face. Now, in the pattern, they give you instructions how you can make get, you know, muslin fabric or whatever fabric and cover it up. But because my hole is still open and I haven't closed it, this is going to fit nice and snugly in there, and you're going to see immediate difference. The problem is that depending on how you do it, you need to measure it every single time in case you went over a little over 1/4 of an inch or you went under. So now I'm sticking it in the back. You could put double-sided tape on the back too to ensure that it will stick. I'm poking in the corners, and I'm just going to put this down real quick and you'll see the difference. So as we crease these things, crease the bag out, it has it has like a really cute shape, and then now it has a really nice bottom. So before, when I didn't have the bottom in it, it was folding over because of the shape of the bag. But because it has a nice false bottom and it's sticking right at the edges, it's going to give it a nice finish. You could put double-sided tape. I'm trying to see if I have a thicker double-sided tape here. I have to do a double-sided tape one. As you can tell, I use a lot of it. So what you can do is you can make a couple pieces of tape and it'll just stick. This one's running out too. Man, I'm telling you. Me and double-sided tape, I need to have like stock in it. And then I wait for the way wax sells, and I'm like, yes, double-sided tape. It makes me so happy. And you just I want to. I have some plexiglass. I'm gonna have my husband cut out some bags. I usually use, like I said, cardboard or foam because these foam boards go on sale as soon as school starts. Don't use the wash away tape. I would use like the permanent leather tape, so that way it just stays at the bottom of the bag. And I'm just moving it around, making sure it doesn't take in the lining with it. And pressing it down so the double-sided tape sticks to the bottom of the bag. And then I'm going to pull the lining out and close that real quick. We're almost done. We're going to put this handle on and this bag is done. I know it feels like it may be a long process, but when you look back, you're going to be like, this isn't fast sewing making. You learn so much, like how to do false bottoms. You learn how to do curves. You learn how to put in a unique turn lock that I've never seen before. And when I was researching it, I found places on Amazon, Etsy, in certain stores. There's like a store in Hawaii we sold it. I was like, why don't I know about this this magnificent turn lock that I don't have to put screws in? I think it'll be a really cool thing, especially for people that have arthritis in their hands or anything. Because like, lower this stitch down than doing this. I think it'll just help. I think the turning of this bag was interesting because I was so scared because I'm like, there's so much Peltex in this. Because usually you're using Pellon or Peltex 71 for the base of the bag, not like the whole exterior. But because how they made the bag, it turns out super cool. That's my dog snoring. Alright. Stuff the lining of the bag back in here. We're gonna and grab this really cool handle. And you're ready to go. This is a super cute bag. I say it was fun. I was kind of intimidated by it because I've never had a bag that had so many pieces. As you can see, it looks like it's boning right through here, and that's because of how I want to call them the artists, but the designers created the bag so that way it had a unique shape all the way around. It is a gorgeous bag. Then on top of it, if you don't want to carry just the handle, you're like, okay, well, I'm ready to go. I'm going to do it as a crossbody or a shoulder bag. You're ready to go, and it's just super cute. Very unique shape. I absolutely love the shape. So you learn a lot of different things. I love patterns where you actually learn something. So I personally learn now that I can use Peltex and Pellon 71 for the outside of the bag, and it doesn't wrinkle. It does not wrinkle the method that they use in the pattern. You learn about different false bottoms like cardboard. I actually never thought about cardboard, even though I've used foam board before. And the plexiglass. I do have some plexiglass, and I'm definitely going to have my husband cut it out and see if I can put it in the bag. I like the false bottoms. I think you learn a lot for having a new creative handle. Turn locks with prongs. Come on now, that just is like cool. That makes your job a heck of a lot easier. And I think this is really domestic friendly because none of the interfacing is actually in the lining. So very unique methods, and I totally love this bag. So if you have any questions or comments about this bag, please leave them in the comment section. If you know a better hole punching theme, please leave it in the comment section. Like, share this page. I would truly appreciate it. Put down some, if you want to write down some bags that you want to have done that you haven't seen on YouTube, just put in the comment section and I'll definitely get a hold of the designer and see if I'm able to do that. I think that's it. 25% off of this pattern, and it's a great pattern. I think it'll be a really good gift. It could be so many different things. If, again, questions, leave a comment. I'm sorry about the little camera buzzing earlier today. Like I told you in the first video, slowly progressing to get better. But I appreciate your patience, and I thank you so much. And until I see you next week, I hope you have a good night. Bye.